Howdy, folks. I'm Brian,
I'm Amber.
and here's some Reddit. Our first story is titled, Am I a jerk for bringing my girlfriend to my son's wedding even though she wasn't invited? I'm a 53-year-old male, and my son Aiden is a 24-year-old male. And we had a small wedding last Saturday. Measures in our country are loose. Aiden's mom and I divorced 10 years ago when she cheated on me. She had 2 marriages, 2 divorces, and managed to get knocked up by her dentist. Those are some clean teeth.
Well, I like how he sticks this in there, even though it has absolutely nothing to do with the story.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the story. I was single most of the time till I started dating Callie, a 25-year-old female, last year. We clicked and have been living together lately. She was actually my student, but we only started dating after she finished college.
Still seems a little skeevy to me.
A little sus.
Yeah.
A little sus. So here's the issue. My son announced the wedding 2 months ago. We knew that he was getting married for a year, but we were waiting for COVID to pass. Callie was very excited as we were stuck in the house all this time. We went shopping. I bought her a lovely dress and shoes. Invitation arrives 2 weeks before the wedding, and I don't get a +1. I call my son, and he says that no one has one because of COVID. I was a bit irritated, but okay. The day of the wedding, I arrive there and everyone has a +1. I'm at the table with my ex and her no-name boyfriend. I ask around and it turns out my son lied to me. I excuse myself and call Callie, telling her to get ready and come anyway. She arrives and sits with us. Everything is in fact great. My ex and Callie got together well. I actually also met my ex at college. My son then pulls me aside and shouts/whispers, "What is Callie doing here?" I say he knows he lied about the +1s, so I invited her anyways. She already bought a dress, etc. Then he said that his wife is jealous of Callie and didn't want her upstaging the bride, and now she's here and looks amazing. He asks me to make Callie leave, but I refuse because it's mean to have her leave alone. I say that if he cares so much, then I, his father, will leave with her and miss the rest of the wedding, and he agrees and we leave. We went to a bar next to the restaurant where the wedding was held. 30 minutes later, my ex and her boyfriend joins us. In the next few hours, like 8 more people join us. We didn't invite anyone, just seems like everyone's first idea was to go to the nearest bar. Turns out the bride was so insecure that she made all the younger women dress uglier than her and forbid certain hairstyles. When Callie arrived, the bride started drinking heavily, and there were some scenes in the hours after we left, which is why some people also left. Anyway, my son called me on Monday and accused me of ruining his wedding because I had to have my girlfriend, in an unpleasant terms, over. Says that his new wife went to his mother because she was angry. I say that the emotion she should feel is embarrassment. He calls me a hippie and hangs up. Very uncalled for. I'm still getting calls for what seems like every family member, including the son's wife's side, calling me out for what I did. I don't know what to think, so I figured I'd post here. So,
I think OP is being a jerk here. Now, we had a little bit of a conversation beforehand on this one, and so I will agree with Brian that it sounds like everyone in the family has a little bit of a unsavory side to them. But I think the specific act here, so when OP got to the wedding and realized that his girlfriend was intentionally not invited.
yeah.
He had 2 choices, either stick it out without her or leave. Inviting someone who was not invited to a wedding is a huge no-no. He knows specifically that she was not intended to be there. And so that's why I say he's a jerk.
And I mean, I'm more inclined to say that everyone's kind of bad here. I think that really there aren't any winners here. Like, first off, his son, name calls and whatnot. They ask him to leave and he leaves. they lied to him about having a +1. They didn't give him a lot of forewarning. So like they went ahead and bought a wedding dress and stuff like that.
But they bought the dress before the invites had been sent, assuming she was invited.
Well, but how often are people not invited to weddings?
I mean, when your dad is dating someone your age, I wouldn't say it's a given that girlfriend is getting the invite.
And that's just it. Is like, I think that there were mistakes made on both sides. And I think that the right thing for him to have done here was just not to show up. I think that if this was, well, I think that because he didn't know at the time, but I think what he should have done is he should have approached his son and said, listen, I see that you didn't invite Callie and it was done on purpose. I'm going to leave. And I think that he should have left. But I also think that the bride, the son, they're acting unreasonable for not letting him bring his +1 because of course he's going to want to bring his +1.
I mean, I think there's a lot that's not being said here. It sounds like the son has very unsavory feelings toward the stepmom.
Yeah.
Or not stepmom, whatever.
Callie, yeah.
Callie. And so, like, I don't know. I would feel really sketched out if my dad had a girlfriend my age, and I wouldn't necessarily want her to be, at my wedding type of thing. So...
Yeah, but instead of like doing the mature thing and having a sit down and a conversation with them.
But this dad seems like the type of person you can't have a conversation. I mean, he literally goes and invites someone he knows specifically is not invited to the wedding. So my guess, and this is all speculation, is that they knew that if they said that Callie wasn't invited specifically, he would just go ahead and bring her anyway. Yeah. So they were like, oh, well, no one will. And they're like, well, then he's going to show up without her. He's not going to like then bring her there because who does that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you. And I think like if he had done it in that case, then it would have made him the jerk. And then they would have still had the same drama.
But I think they are assuming that they were going to cut out the drama this way, that he wasn't going to then go ahead and go to all the effort of bringing here. I mean, it sounds like he's just...
I mean, honestly, to me, it just sounds like everyone in this situation is just terrible. Like, the bride sounds terrible, the groom sounds terrible.
They all do sound kind of terrible, although, again, I wonder how much of this is filtered through the dad's eyes.
And that's just it. It's like, we are never going to see, like, the complete picture. And, especially in something like this could be heavily colored, right? I'm assuming that he's posting as good of a version as he can. And, of course, that's always still going to be biased.
I'm assuming that because he did such an egregious violation in his posting here, that he already has a really colored perception of events.
And that might be. And, like, that could very well be the case, that, like, he's just not a reliable source.
But I still think even if everyone else is kind of bad for, not inviting her, I don't necessarily think they should have invited her to begin with, because, like, but I think even if other people handle the situation poorly,
yeah, he's
still the jerk for bringing someone who was specifically not invited to the wedding.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think he's a jerk here.
And I think that gives him, like, the one-upmanship jerk level above the rest of them, because... I mean, this is a wedding that his son is presumably paying for. He doesn't say anywhere that he's paying for it.
Well, that's true.
They have, if they have any kind of refreshments, then that's a mouth they weren't expecting to feed. So
yeah, there's
reasons why you don't invite people like to weddings because it's a big formal event.
Yeah.
So
plates and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know. Like I said, I don't disagree that he's a jerk. I think full-heartedly he's a jerk here, but I'm also inclined to say that other people are too.
Well, I don't like everyone sucks here because it makes it sound like it's all like a level playing field, and I think like he's a level higher than the rest of them. Like, I will grant that the rest of them also sound kind of lousy, but I want him to know that he's done extra bad here.
I think that's fair. Before we move on, let's have some tea. Or water. Amber's drinking water today.
Yes.
She's drinking a flavored water. A water that's flavored like water.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no flavoring in it. It's just water.
I'm drinking a mint tea. As you can see, the camera is a little bit different today. I'm trying something different. I'm trying to actually use my phone as a web camera because my computer's webcam is what should we say? Antiquated?
Yes, that's probably a good word for it.
Very, very antiquated. And so it's not necessarily the best. Oops, as I bashed the microphone. You know, this wouldn't be the high quality, high caliber video that I generally produce if I'm not bashing the microphone at some point in time. But yes, to go back to my train of thought, trying an experiment, seeing how it works, we'll see.
And that's the tea.
That's tea. We spilled all the tea.
Our next story is, am I the jerk for wearing heels to my fiance's sister's wedding when it makes my fiance uncomfortable because he is short? Hello, I'm 5'8" and my fiance is 5'3". I actually have a preference for shorter men, and all of my boyfriends have been shorter than me. I guess sort of because men who are taller than me make me uncomfortable because of an incident in my past. Yes, I'm getting therapy for it, don't ask about it. While the short stature, my boyfriend usually comes up playfully, sometimes things do annoy him. I was looking at pictures on Facebook of his sister's wedding from a couple years ago, and the height difference started to bother him. Specifically, the situation was that he asked me not to wear high heels when we were at family gatherings because it would exacerbate our height difference and it would be kept in photos. Well, we had a really stupid argument the day of his sister's wedding that was more like a playful fight over who was better at something, and I remember putting on heels to the wedding just to annoy him. I didn't think it was a big deal, it was just like a joke I guess, and I thought it made for some really cute photos of us together. Anyway, we saw the wedding photos on Facebook, and one of his stupid college friends that he hardly knows anymore made a joke about hoping a short man like fiance could satisfy a woman like me. While I blocked him immediately, this started a whole stupid argument about how mean I was for wearing heels. But I feel like the only reason he is bringing this up now is because of what some stupid guy he used to know said. I apologize, but he wants me to promise not to wear heels when we are together, and I just don't think I should have to. Am I the jerk for wearing heels around my short fiance, even though it makes him uncomfortable?
Oh, by all means, yes. Like, this is the cardinal rule of emasculation.
I think for OP's specific...
In fact, Amber, you're like, I think you're on like the same level as me tonight, so I think you need to scooch down. Scooch down!
I'm gonna be taller.
Amber's actually shorter than me, so I don't have to worry about being emasculated by her height.
I have like 6-inch heels though, so I get like right up to almost your height.
Yeah. What were you saying? I interrupted you very rudely.
Fine. No, it's not a problem. I was just saying, I'm going to start with OP's very specific question. So, am I the jerk for wearing heels around my short fiance, even though it makes him uncomfortable? For that piece of the letter, I think no, you're not the jerk. Everyone has different preferences when it comes to footwear and other clothing items, and I don't think it's reasonable for someone else to dictate that you are not allowed to wear a certain thing. And it's understandable that OP's fiance feels uncomfortable about his height because we really do make it out like being a short man is a bad thing in our society.
Yeah.
But that's the thing that he needs to work on instead of setting arbitrary rules about what his fiance can and can't wear.
Yeah, I think the whole setting the rules about what she can and can't wear is unsavory, but also like the petty spitefulness of her to wear heels explicitly to annoy him.
Yeah, I was going to say, going to that specific incident, I do agree that that's more of like an everyone sucks here situation.
Yeah.
So in general, I don't think that you should be constrained to wear things because your partner tells you to, or tells you not to wear things. But in that specific instance, it was petty and childish for her to wear heels.
Yeah.
If it was just to spite him. Like, if she had just been wearing the heels because she likes heels, then that would be one thing. And I'd say, not the jerk for wearing them. But if she was doing it specifically to, like, make a point, then I'd say they kind of both suck a little bit there.
Yeah. I think that one's pretty cut and dry in that respect. I think that really, you shouldn't do stuff that you know other people are going to dislike or annoys them or offends them. Like, you shouldn't go out of your way. Like, you're always going to do something that's going to offend someone somewhere or something like that. Or you're going to say something, we all say stupid things from time to time and don't necessarily, like, think about the consequences. I probably have said some stupid things on this channel, but I don't go out of my way to make people angry or offend people. I don't. I don't stir up drama on purpose.
Right, and if you're in a relationship with someone, hopefully you don't generally want to like make them feel bad and stuff like that. So that's, it just doesn't sound like it. It wasn't a very nice thing to do. It wasn't nice of him to demand that she not wear heels, but also if she's specifically doing this just to irk him, that's not very nice or healthy.
No, I agree. All right. Our last letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Telling My Wife to Stop Calling Herself a Mother? My wife and I have been together for 5 years and married for 3. I'm 26 and she's 25. Before we got together, when she was 17, she was with someone else and she got pregnant. She lost the baby at 32 weeks due to the baby contracting a lung infection and dying. It sucks and it's a tragic thing, and she visits the baby's grave every year on the anniversary of its death. I have no problem with that. When people ask if we have any kids, I say no, and she says that she had a baby but it passed away. It makes people really uncomfortable, and we've talked about how not everyone needs to know about her dead kid. I just need to pause for a second. Like, if OP's trying to paint himself as, like, the good guy in this, he's failing.
He's failing miserably. Yeah, well, I'll save that for our comments when we get into it. But I have something important to say about that paragraph.
Our issue arose yesterday, which was supposed to be her due date. She went and got a tattoo of the baby's handprint and the name she gave it, which she has been talking about for years, and I always was reluctant for her to do it. It seems kind of trashy, but I don't like tattoos in general. And posted it on Facebook with a big long caption about how even though she wasn't his Earthside mother for very long, he taught her so much, and how being his mother was the greatest gift she could have asked for. I told her to stop calling herself a mother and posting depressing stuff on Facebook. It was almost a decade ago, and she's still holding on to it. What is she going to say when we have kids? That she had this many kids alive and this many dead? She told me I was being insensitive and that there's no difference if her baby had died at 6 months. She still held it, fed it with her body, loved it, and created a space in her world for it. She hasn't talked to me since yesterday, and she slept in our guest room. Surprise, surprise there.
Yeah.
I feel like she needs to get over it because it was almost 10 years ago and she's acting like it's fresh. Am I the jerk? Also, the baby didn't die in utero or was stillborn. It was born, developed a lung infection, and died like 5 days after it was born.
I'm going to say OP is a jerk here.
Really? Really? OP is a jerk? Tell me, Amber, how did you arrive at this?
Well, just having eyes.
Yeah, having eyes and reading.
Having some reading comprehension skills.
The loss of someone in your life sometimes never heals. And, this was a tragic event, and it shaped, a portion of her life. And, the thing that the OP could at least refer to the baby by its name and in there, and not, basically try to make it sound like the baby never existed or anything like that.
Yeah, well, it sounds like he's trying to completely write this baby out of her history when this was something very big in her life. I mean, she, yes, her baby only lived for 5 days, but that's 5 days for which she was the mother, but also she carried it inside her for 32 weeks before that.
32 weeks.
So
fed and held it, and, the thing is, that baby was real to her and made up a good portion, a good chunk of her time in her life at that time. And, she probably already had a crib, a name, she had, car seats probably picked out, baby clothes, all these things around to remind her of, her loss.
Right, well, because when people are pregnant, generally, if they have a healthy pregnancy, they're not expecting the worst case scenario.
No, of course not.
So she could see his whole life, out before her, all the possibilities, and have that snatched away.
Yeah.
As heartbreaking. And so she absolutely 100% was a mother. And for Opie to be like, well, your kid was only alive 5 days. You need to get over this. It's just such a jerky thing to do.
Yeah.
Like, maybe she could use some grief counseling. That would
Sure.
probably be helpful.
Sure.
But nothing in this sounds inappropriate. Like,
No.
I mean, I've heard of lots of parents who get tattoos when their kids pass away. Like,
Yeah.
it's just a nice, touching reminder for them. You know, she didn't ask him to go out and get a tattoo. She just
No,
wanted
of course not.
one for
Yeah.
herself.
And, like, the thing is, like, she got, you know, the baby's handprint, I think is what they said.
Yeah.
In the name. And, like, that's just a gentle, subtle reminder to her about, like, her lost child.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is, by all means, 100% a lost child.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's no question about
yeah.
that.
And, I mean, I really feel bad for OP's wife here because he seems embarrassed by the fact that, you know, and that we might have an uncomfortable conversation every once in a while.
Yeah, well,
Like-
let's back up to that paragraph for a second, because I did actually want to say, so, because he says it makes people really uncomfortable. Well, people, if they're going to ask if you have kids, they need to be prepared for an uncomfortable
Yeah.
conversation, because not everyone has, first of all, not everyone who wants kids can have them.
Yeah.
And so you could be creating a lot of pain for someone by
Mhm.
if they're trying for kids and just can't have one. But then also people have kids and lose them. And there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with letting people know, oh, yes, I had a child. He died.
Yeah. And you know what? The talking about it may even help her. And, you know, having someone say, oh, I'm really sorry to hear that. And OP's completely dismissing her feelings and treating this like she's just being emotional or something like that, or trying to get attention or any number of things, when this is just a mother grieving the loss of her child.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. So, yeah, OP, if I'm going to have to give you a judgment here, if I have to pass judgment here.
I would give judgment whether or not it's required. I'm ready to say you're a jerk.
Yeah, you have my seal of approval that you're a jerk. I don't know.
Seal of jerk, the jerk stamp.
Yes, you have my, I don't know, my judgment. I don't know.
You take the cake for the biggest jerk today.
Yeah.
We had some other jerks today. You by far take the cake.
Yeah. And, I mean, I think that maybe OP here hopefully gets a wake-up call. I mean, I'm not here to rag on OP. OP clearly thinks that what they're doing here is reasonable. They, you know, just from the tone of the letter, they don't expect that they're going to be the jerk here, you know. And I think that they're a very misguided individual. I think that they, you know, aren't thinking about things from their wife's perspective. They're thinking about things from their perspective about what makes people comfortable and uncomfortable. You know, they don't want, you know, to have those uncomfortable conversations, but life isn't always all roses. There are uncomfortable conversations to have. And you just can't be like, well, I don't ever want to have an uncomfortable conversation, because that's not realistic. That's never going to happen.
And it also shuts down a lot of people and hurts people inadvertently when people are told you can't talk about these things because it makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, we need to have a lot more awareness around this sort of things, that not everyone who wants kids can have them, and not everyone's kids live to, you know, a ripe old age.
Yeah. And so I really think that OP's severely misguided here. I really hope that they've taken a valuable lesson from these comments, you know, from this judgment, and that they realize that they're being too hard on their wife, and that their wife's grief is very much real and very much, you know, something that they're experiencing.
Yeah, and that she had this child and she will always carry him in her heart. So even if they have, because it sounds like OP wants her in part to get rid of this so that they can move on and have their happy family together. Yeah. But this child is always going to be part of her story. Yeah. And she's probably, if you have kids, going to want to tell them that they had a brother and he died. And that's perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, age-appropriate conversation.
Right, of course. At an age-appropriate level. Yeah, I meant like eventually she would probably introduce the idea to them that she's not, you know, because this was something.
No, don't hang it over the heads of the kids.
Well, no,
I know what you're saying. I'm just being silly.
So, I mean, like, So hopefully this gives him the reality check he needs, because this is something that's going to be part of her life for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
Even if she does get some grief counseling and like doesn't write about it on Facebook as much or whatever, it's still going to be something that was important to her.
Yeah.
And you need to allow her the space to talk about this child and to remember him.
All right, folks. That's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thanks, Amber, for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
I still have this Discord channel. I'm on there. I'm actively there. So if you want to join in, there's not like a huge number of people, but you're welcome on there. You're welcome to text me anytime on Discord. Say hi. So, I always look forward to it. So join us. I hope you enjoyed today's video.
Yes.
What's your fun fact for the day?
Fun fact for the day. You're going to have to start reminding me in advance to think of these fun facts.
Well, I mean, then it's not on the spot, and then I can't have you, like, pressured into thinking of fun facts for the day.
Fun fact. Does it have to be fun?
No, it doesn't have to be fun.
Let's see. I don't have any fun facts. I don't actually really have any facts.
Yeah, I mean, we have crow friends.
We do have crow friends. We didn't see them today.
Yeah.
So we've been trying to befriend some of the local crows. And there's two of them. Midnight and Shadow. We've recently decided to name them.
We think they're a pair. We think they're a couple. They sometimes call at us to feed them.
Yeah, so we've been feeding them peanuts. And so we when we go on our walks, we'll keep our eyes out for Midnight and Shadow and try and feed them peanuts.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to get a picture one of these days for...
I've been wanting to. Yeah. Because I have pictures of Chip that I post on my Instagram. Yeah. We also have a squirrel friend named Chip that we feed peanuts to.
Everyone's like, these people are crazy. They have animals.
Chip, we actually get to eat out of my hand last summer. Yeah. And so I want the crow friends to like sit on my shoulder because I have the scarecrow costume. And so I want a little crow to go with my scarecrow costume, but I want it to be a real actual crow friend.
Yeah, that will take years for us to actually like befriend them to the point where they would trust us, and of course we wouldn't.
That was just my goal.
Life goal.
Life goal is to have a crow friend to sit on my shoulder.
And yeah, I mean, I always liked crows when I was a kid. I don't know, I just enjoyed I always thought they were really pretty birds. I know some people think they're nuisances and annoying, but I think crows are pretty.
I like crows.
Yeah. So, I guess that's our fun fact for the day. Let me know what your fun fact is below, and yeah. So, thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, consider giving me a like. If you dislike this video, consider giving me a dislike. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow. I did my finger guns.
Oh. Delayed finger guns.